this new era of mental health acceptance, and for many students who desire to get help, one of the biggest hurdles is the first step, starting counseling. Many students have questions like, how do I find a counselor? And when I do, what will counseling look like? Will they ask me questions I don't want to answer? Will they want to hear all about my childhood? Will they make me share secrets and things I've never told a soul? A confused picture of what counseling truly looks like is often the first hurdle to overcome on our students' journey to positive mental health. Here are some questions and answers related to therapy that might help in the process. The first question is, am I crazy if I go to therapy? Having therapy does not mean you're crazy. At least 1 in 5 students have mental health issues. Doctors and therapists treat mental health problems like any other medical problem. For instance, if you break your leg, you go to an orthopedic doctor. If you have an earache, you might see an ear, nose, and throat specialist. If you're depressed or anxious or need someone to talk to, you go to a therapist. Another question is, what is mental health? Mental health includes how you act, feel, and think in different situations. Students have mental health problems when their actions, feelings, or thoughts regularly create obstacles in their lives. Everybody experiences time when they think or feel something like they don't like. Other times, people do things that other people don't like. Both situations are normal. But when unwanted thoughts, feelings, or actions regularly create problems, there may be a wider mental health problem. Counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists are people who can help with mental health problems. Another question is, why do students have mental health problems? Mental health problems can be caused by many different things. Some common causes include medical conditions. Some medical conditions can make you feel, act, or think strangely. If you go to a doctor or a psychiatrist for a mental health problem, they will first check whether a medical condition could be causing that problem. Another is violence. When something bad happens to a person or they see something bad happen, that can cause a mental health problem. Or stress. Everybody gets stressed out. Some stresses can be helpful, like motivating you to study for a test, but too much stress can cause mental health problems. Also, losing a relationship. If someone close to you dies, moves away, or doesn't want to be friends anymore, it's normal to feel sad or lonely. Usually these feelings get better over time, but sometimes they worsen and affect other parts of our lives. Another question is, what are the types of therapy for students? There are 3 main types of therapy for students: individual, group, and family. Sometimes people will do combinations of therapy, such as individual and group therapy, and the type of therapy you have depends on the problem. Here are some details on each one. In individual therapy, you meet with the therapist alone to talk about your problems. Each session lasts about 50 minutes, and the therapist may ask you to identify your feelings about the problem, and you might get homework that will help you work through the problems. Everything you say in therapy is confidential unless the therapist has good reason to believe you might hurt yourself or someone else. Sometimes it can be helpful for your therapist to talk to your parents or your school counselor about a problem. The next one is group therapy. Group therapy allows you to see how other students handle their problems. You will also practice new ways to handle your own problems. Starting out in a new group can be a little scary because you don't know the other people in your group. But after a few sessions, you'll probably feel more comfortable. Usually there are about 5 people in each group with 1 or 2 leaders. The group leader will bring up topics and ask questions, but you feel free to ask your own questions and get answers from the group. Group therapy usually lasts around 90 minutes. The last is family therapy. With family therapy, you and your parents, and sometimes your brothers or sisters, go to therapy together. Because everyone is there, you can work on problems that affect the family. The therapist will discourage interrupting and make sure everyone gets to voice their concerns. Another question is, how long does therapy last? Many therapists do not set a time length. Some problems resolve very quickly, but others are more complex and take longer. Usually therapy will last at least 3 months if you go once a week. For some therapists, it can last a year. Even though therapy can take a long time, you should notice progress. Another question is, will I feel uncomfortable talking about my problems? It's normal to feel awkward talking about sensitive things. The uncomfortable feelings means that you're trying something new. As you get used to meeting with your therapist or group, you should get more comfortable and more confident. Another question is, what if I don't like my therapist? Having a good relationship with your therapist is one of the most important parts of therapy. Sometimes people just don't get along well with the therapist, and you should know it in usually the first or second session. If you don't like your therapist, it's okay to try a different one. And lastly, be praying for your therapy and all it entails. Your prayer should sound something like this. Lord, I'm nervous at the thought of starting counseling and talking to a stranger. I have so many thoughts in my head, and even sharing with family and friends can be difficult. Sharing with a stranger is even more daunting. Allow me to see them as a vessel used by you to gain hope and perspective to all that is going on in my life. May I let the walls down of all that I'm carrying and see that they are genuinely caring about me and my well-being. I know it will be tough sometimes, but allow me to do the work and see the progress to greater mental health wellness. Thank you for being there every step of the way and loving me just as I am. In your precious name, amen.